This is Nanook, and this is Nanook. Hello and welcome back to the channel, and yes, you heard correctly, I have a beer named after my dog. Well, let me kind of reiterate that. This is a beer that shares almost exactly the same name as my dog. The spellings vary slightly, but they mean the same thing. This is from Brew. It's a cold IPA, whatever that really means, I'm sure we'll find out. But this is named Nanook, as is my dog, and it means polar bear. Hence the lovely polar bear on the side of this can, and hence why my dog is called that, because he looks a little bit like a polar bear. And I know I said a cold IPA, whatever that is. Well, actually, I kind of know. I'm pretty sure it's an IPA style, effectively brewed like lager, in that it's brewed at a lower temperature than normal ales are. So yeah, should be an interesting one. As I say, this is from Brew. I paid a premium for this, as I have on all of my recent ones, because they were from effectively a bar rather than a shop or a supermarket. And yeah, I'm a little bit worried about this one. I'll be honest, I only bought it because of the assimilation with my dog, because Brew beers, well, they do some very, very good things. And I've had some shockers, so I'm hoping for good stuff. I've not yet had a pale from them that I've really got on with, but I'm hoping that changes today. Anyway, before we break into it, here is a quick look at the can. As always with Brew, the artwork is absolutely stunning. As I say, there's a polar bear on there, there's another one, and another one. Load of info on the back, which we'll get into a bit later. And there he is again, look. Let's get it open. Hey, sorry to interrupt, but this is kind of important. Currently, only 29% of people who watch my videos regularly are actually subscribed to this channel. And in order to be able to bring you bigger and better content, that figure needs to get closer to 50%. So please, if you wouldn't mind, just click that subscribe button below the video. It doesn't cost you anything, and it would help me a whole bunch. So thank you, and now back to the video. Now I'm using my Knott's Craft Beer Festival glass for this one. I tell a lie, it's actually my Derby Beercon glass. I got confused because Neon Raptor sponsored both of them. But anyway, here we go. In the glass then, very, very pale. It looks slightly darker on camera, but it is, yeah, it's very, very pale. It's got a bit of a yellow hue to it. Very, I don't want to say straw because it's too, well, it's too vibrant a colour, but it's what you normally go with, I guess, in beer descriptive terms. And I don't know if you can see into that. The amount of just particulate suspension in there is really quite interesting. It almost looks glittery. It's that dense. But yeah, one finger, white head, looks decent enough. Aroma time. Very typical IPA aroma. It's got bitterness. It's got some vegetal, dank, piney notes. It's got big, strong lemon and grapefruit flavours. It's on the money in terms of just generic, modern IPA, I guess, for the aroma. So let's give it a go, shall we? Cheers. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Initial impressions, actually pretty good. Now, I'm not going to call it fantastic just yet. We really need to delve into it and analyse it. But it has become a trend to kind of modern, heavily hop some lagers and pilsners. And to be honest, I hate them. I think they're all terrible. I've not had one yet that even comes remotely close to being an interesting beer. What I could have had there was a crisp lager that tasted good, but instead you just use some kind of, well, you bastardized it, basically. And I'm not against the IPA, don't get me wrong, it's just, it's a bit overdone. I'm a bit bored of them in general. However, the mouthfeel on this is fantastic. I mean, it's a 5.7% beer, so it's clutching at straws really to call it a proper IPA, but it's nearly there, it's nearly on the way. But the mouthfeel for a 5.7% is absolutely insane, and it'll be because of all of that particulate suspension we talked about before. It's just so, it's thick. It's thick, but it's also refreshing, and whilst I am getting proper heavy hop flavours, there's no lingering. It's almost cutting, dry and refreshing, like you would expect a lager or pilsner to be. It's really quite Yeah, I'm digging it. Right then, let's quickly top this up with what's left in the can. And it's time for you to try and understand what I'm blabbing on about with a top to bottom taste test. So, initially, quite neutral on the front of the tongue, quite a lot of carbonation, but it's not distinctly sweet or bitter. It's just a hint, maybe a hint of malt sweetness actually, just inviting you in. Really, it's very pleasant, very, yeah, just a very gradual introduction, and then the carbonation. It's not a hugely fizzy beer, but right at the front of the tongue, right on the tip, and then kind of that first third, it keeps going, and you start to get a few hints of lemon, hints of grapefruit, and with that carbonation level, it's almost becoming a bit like lemon sherbet, refreshing, sweet confectionery stuff. It's yeah, very nice, almost like a dib dab, and then mid palate, lemon backs off, grapefruit though comes to the fore. But I must say, it's almost like sweetened grapefruit. It's not properly sharp. It's not properly offensive. And then you swallow it, and you're just in kind of mild IPA territory, really. It's funny. There's not a lack of flavour, but there's just nothing's really punchy. It's just nice, balanced, and chill, ironically. And then the aftertaste is weird because, and not in a bad way, but it almost feels like a palate cleanser. It's There's nothing left. It's just you could now taste anything else and you would get the true representation. But then, and I must have been waiting half a minute now to start talking again, there's hints of lemon, but also a nice subtle biscuity malt base. Just, it's not even properly there. It's just tantalising you to come back and see if you can find a bit more of it. But like I say, the finish is semi-dry, it's refreshing, yeah, it feels lager or pilsner-esque. What everyone's been doing, trying to hop pilsners and lagers for that effect, they're going about it the wrong way. What you want to do is lager your IPA, because that is a significantly better drink. Right then, let's take a look at the can. On the front, Brew York Nanook Cold IPA, 5.7%, and then at the bottom there it says Big Smoke Brew Co. So this might be a collab. I've not actually clocked that before because it's almost it almost just looks like a, I don't know, it's tiny though. Look at it. Excuse my horrendous nails. And on the back it says Nanook Cold IPA. In Inuit mythology, the Nanook was powerful, mighty, and the master of bears. In the Native American language, Nanook translates to polar bear, and in our collaboration with Big Smoke Brew Co, we have used this majestic beast as an inspiration to develop a cold IPA to exemplify the freezing surroundings of the Arctic. Our cold IPA uses heaps of New Zealand hops to create powerful notes of tropical fruit, passion fruit, stone fruit, and citrus. This is balanced with a clean, assertive bitterness and bold, clean finish. The hops are Columbus, Moteca, and Nectaron. So, a few things here. But the standout for me is that they think it should be kind of tropical fruit, passion fruit, stone fruit. I'm not really getting it, if I'm honest. I guess the kind of citrusy intensity that you would associate with an American hopped IPA is dull in this. It's not as big, it's not as piney, it's not as resinous, it's subtler, it's softer, it's sweeter. Whether it's the age of the can, whether it's just the fact that it's a cold IPA, it's been cold brewed, I'm not really getting that, but it kind of makes sense. But yeah, it's just maybe not getting it on the nose for me in this can anyway. The ingredients are water, barley, maize, rice, wheat, hops and yeast. Maybe the rice is doing that particular suspension thing, I don't know. Interesting choice, but hey, it seems to be working. Brew York likes to give an arbitrary rating for each beer that doesn't really it doesn't mean anything. They've given it a 5 out of 5 cold rating. Can you see that? Yeah, 5 out of 5 icicles. There's not a great deal more info we really need to get into. There's 2.5 UK units in this can. I'm not afraid to give breweries a bit of slack when I've had a few bad beers from them. And Brew York, I have had a few bad beers from, but I've also had some stunning beers from. And this, whilst it might not go into the realms of stunning, I would happily have another can. It really is genuinely not a bad beer. Now, I'm sat here in a hoodie drinking this in February or March by the time this video comes out. But, you know, middle of summer, I'm going to firstly say yes, it would be fantastic at that time of year. But also now this has warmed up a bit, a bit of that stone fruit, passion fruit thing starting to rear its head. Interestingly, because it said cold IPA, I kind of went with the intention of drinking it a bit colder than I probably normally would an IPA. Maybe that was the wrong thing to do, but let it warm up. That fruitiness does start to show itself. But anyway, in either guise, it's certainly not a bad beer. Probably won't be for everyone, but to be honest, I'm really quite enjoying this. Probably because it's got my dog's name on it. And that really is all I've got to say about it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe if you will be so kind. And I'll catch you next time. Cheers.